Morning, Scott in Colorado here. Are you doing everything you can to keep yourself and your loved ones safe? Do you care about your family? Do you love them? Are you showing that love by preparing yourself? You know, it's been said, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. I don't like fear as a motivator. But sometimes, well, I guess if fear motivates you to make a change in your life, or something bad happens to you, and then you make a change in your life in order to rectify that situation so that bad thing doesn't happen again, or more likely won't happen to that extent again, then I guess that's a good thing. We learn from our experience. We unfortunately have to learn from our own bad experiences because we refuse to learn from history or from the experience of others. If you're in this boat, maybe we need to change our attitudes a bit. There's something called the normalcy bias. Normalcy bias is when a person believes that because something bad like that, like an economic failure, has never occurred to them, or war has never occurred to them, or they've never experienced that in their lives, that it will never happen to them. This is insanity. Life is about change. The whole world is about change. It's about the fall of governments. It's about the fall of civilizations. It's about destruction and death. It's also about growth. But to think that things will stay the same is ridiculous. You don't stay the same. You change. You grow. You grow old. People die. Bad things happen to good people. Just because you didn't live in pre-war Berlin or pre-war London before the Blitz, I'm sure there's people in London that never believed that anything like that would happen to them. Or people who were in Berlin who believed they were completely safe. They would never be bombed practically to the Stone Age during World War II. It happens. It's going to happen again. We're not safe, all right? We can't influence everything around us, but we can do things to make ourselves and our families safe in our little sphere of existence where we have influence. Do you lock your doors when you get in the car? I lock them every time I get in the car. Do you lock your doors? My front door's locked right now. All the doors in the house are locked, except for the one right near me. And the sliding glass door I'm going to walk back into. And you know what? I'm armed all the time. I'm armed right now. I've shown it before. I'm armed with a 9mm. Okay, I'm in my backyard. I'm safe. Well, is anything safe? You never know when a bad guy might come knocking. You have to be prepared all the time. The bad person will choose his time of ambush. He will do it from ambush and from surprise. So don't allow yourself. Well, you can't keep yourself from being startled. You can respond, and you choose that time of response. It seems like governments nowadays, since they fear the people and politicians want to stay in office, that they want to debilitate us. I've always been an enabler. I like to enable people. I want to enable you so you and your loved ones can stay safe and are not hurt. I have seen enough people hurt in my life and enough death in my life to never want to see any of that again. I don't want to see you suffer. I don't want to see your children suffer. I don't want to see your wife or your husband suffer. There's too much suffering in the world. People need to do something about it. But as I was saying, governments want to disarm people so that they can stay in office and do whatever they please because men are fallen. They do wicked things. Not all men, but all men sin. And we're made up of both good and evil. There's good and evil in us. We are capable of much good. We're also capable of much evil. There's much evil being perpetrated in the world. It's been that way since the beginning of time. It's not so the world is getting more and more wicked, but it's been that way from the beginning of time. It's just we're becoming more and more aware of it as we grow older. We hopefully become a little more wise. I was a Boy Scout. Be prepared. That's their motto. You talk about preppers. Am I a prepper? I've never really considered myself a prepper, but I guess people might call me that. Do you have a supply of food? What happens if you get snowed in? I live at almost 6,000 feet in Colorado. When I lived in Utah, we used to get snowed in on a fairly regular basis in the wintertime, and both 3 routes into town would be shut down from snowfall. Trucks can't get in and out, and those shelves in the grocery store disappeared. Groceries on the shelf, shelves didn't disappear, but the groceries on the shelf disappeared within 48 hours. I mean, within just a few hours after it was announced that everything was shut down in town. We here where I live, we had the flood in 2013 here in Colorado, in northern Colorado. And this place where I live, we were an island for 5 days. Across the way here, I'll show you. Right over here, across the way, they landed a helicopter every day for 5 days. On the other side of that fence, the life flight helicopter from the hospital. I don't know if they call it that, but that's what I call it. To rescue people. Big Ranger helicopters would come in and land there, and that's the only way they had of picking up one of the flight nurses, the male flight nurse that worked with the rescue. That's the only way that he could get to work. So they flew here every day from the other side of the freeway. It's the only way they could get here. So you couldn't drive in or out. My wife couldn't even get to work. Do you have food? Do you have gasoline stored? Do you have cash? If the electricity's down and you can't go to a cash machine or the bank's closed. Well, I've never seen a bank closure. Well, my parents have seen bank closures. My grandparents have seen bank closures. It happens, right? It's happening in Europe right now. To think it's not going to happen in the U.S. here is you've got your head in the sand. You're an ostrich. You're pretending. It's like, no, I don't want to hear this. Is this scary to you? Well, if it's scary, do something about it. Save up some cash. Have some cash squirreled away someplace. It doesn't have to be on your property even, okay? I don't keep cash here on the property. I wouldn't be telling people this. If I did, okay? I don't keep valuables on the property. I don't keep them at a bank either, in a safe deposit box. When the bank closes, how are you going to have access to it? I keep it off-site, all right? Keep it at a friend's house or somebody else's house. Don't tell people where it is, all right? You've got to have some kind of reserve. How are you capable of actually defending yourself in a life or death situation? Say you go into a convenience store, you go to the corner market to pick up some eggs or some milk, all right? Somebody walks in with a gun. Can you actually defend yourself? Somebody threatens you with a knife. Can you do anything about it? Do you have a clue as to what to do? You know, I've taken a couple different styles of karate, a Chinese or a Japanese style of karate, which is very structured. Studied Chinese Kenpo karate for a time, which was more fluid, which I like that one better. But, when it came down to it, you could use very little of that in practical self-defense. Street fighting is what works. My years in law enforcement, my career, taught me in those hundreds of encounters where I was fighting with people. It teaches you what works and what doesn't. You can't be a one-trick pony. You've got to actually have training, a real world of training. You have to continue with that and continue with the attitude, I will not be victimized. You have to decide that you will not be victimized. You will not allow your family to suffer and your children to be victimized. You have to have that attitude, and you have to develop within you the attitude, the skills, and the plan. ASP is what it stands. You can remember that with that acronym ASP. Attitude. You have to have the attitude. I will not be victimized. I will not let my children and my wife suffer. I will not allow someone to do that to me. 2, you have to have the skills to do something about it. You develop those skills over time, and it takes effort. And it's probably going to take some money too. And you've got to have a plan. All right? You've got to play what if. Go get yourself some training, real training, from somebody. You go to somebody and they say, ask them if they're going to train you. Say, how many fights have you been in? Well, I've been in the ring and I've done this and I've done that. Now, I'm not talking about the ring. I'm talking about in the real world, out on the street. All right? Talk to an experienced cop, not a rookie. Somebody who's been doing this for 15 years at least. All right? An arrest control instructor. That's what I was. All right? That was my specialty. Crimes in progress. Why did that become my specialty? Frankly, because it scared me. How am I going to defend myself? I had all this training, all right? I had this background. I was physically fit, but you need to have the skills, all right? And you gain experience over time. There's nothing like real life experience. It's the best teacher, all right? Have I ever been hurt? Yeah, I have, by an arrestee. Yeah, tore my retina in my left eye. Okay, I got kneed in the head once, all right, by a parolee. All right, lost my vision for several days. And funny, I had to have surgery on it anyways. Well, I won the fight, but I lost that war. All right, he went back to prison. So what? Yeah, but I don't have any peripheral vision over there anymore. All right, you have to develop the necessary aggression in your personality. All right, and how do you do that? I don't really know how to tell you that. You have to decide whether you really love your family enough to not allow them to suffer. You know, you came into this world to have experiences, all right? If you don't do something to protect your family, all right, if you say, well, whatever, I can't really do anything about it, but you could have done something about it. You could learn, all right? You can risk it, all right? You can take that risk and say, hey, I don't know everything. You can be a little bit humble. You can say, hey, I really do love them. I want my kids to grow up. I want my daughter to get married, to live long enough to get married, and so I have grandkids. So she has a husband. So she has the joy of raising children. You're going to take that away from her? You're going to lose that posterity of the future? I've got 14 grandkids. I would never, ever allow anyone to harm me. Okay, when I was a law enforcement officer in a small community, I couldn't go downtown without seeing somebody I'd arrested or dealt with. All right, if I went to the grocery store, everybody knew me. Was I armed? I was armed all the time. I was never unarmed, ever. I don't care if I went to the swimming pool, I was armed. People didn't know it, but it was close by. All right, I will not allow someone to victimize my family, my wife. Dig deep. Do some soul searching. Decide what's important to you. And don't pretend it's not going to happen to you, because it will happen to you. I can guarantee you bad things will happen to you. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to suffer. And you're going to wish for eternity. Even if you're killed, you're still going to be alive. Your consciousness will still be around. All right? I'm not talking about ghosts or anything like that. I believe that you are an immortal person. All right? This isn't about religion. I believe that you existed before this life. You're an intelligence. You can't destroy yourself. You're just in this body now. That was a gift given to you by God. And you better take care of that. You better value that gift and the lives around you. In law enforcement, we were taught in the use of force. And we were taught two words. We were able to use force necessary to effect an arrest. And we had to use two words. That force, we could use that force, which was reasonable and necessary to effect the arrest. That was it. Only the amount of force that was reasonable and necessary, the minimum amount of force. All right? You have a force continuum. Well, if somebody's going to rob you, let's say somebody's going to come up, approach your wife at the grocery store or the laundromat after doing clothes, okay, at 10:30 at night in the parking lot, okay, and they approach her with a knife. They say, get in the car. All right? What's their intent? Are they going to kill her? Are they going to rape her and then kill her? Are they going to kidnap her, rape her, torture her, and then kill her? Or are they just going to rob her and take her money? Can you read minds? No, you can't read minds. What are you going to do? You've got to teach her how to defend herself. If she doesn't have a firearm, she is going to lose. It's an equalizer. I'm sorry, I can't teach a woman really how to defend herself. I can teach her some self-confidence, and maybe she'll get to that point where she'll get a firearm or some kind of deadly weapon, all right? Maybe she can react at her time and choosing during that act, during that vicious act of being robbed or whatever, and she decides she's going to explode out of ambush. Okay, you've got to be aggressive when you do that. You've got to go for 100%, all the marbles. You can't hold back. You're going to rip out eyeballs. You're going to tear out throats. All right, you're going to punch for the throat. You're going to gouge eyes. You're going to kick in the groin. When I fight, okay, in law enforcement, when I was attacked, all right, people are going after my gun. I bit, I gouged, I kicked, I cheated. There's 3 rules in a fight. 3 of them. Number 1, this is in a fight for your life, all right? This isn't in playing games. Number 1, always win. There's no prize for second chance, or for second place, rather. There's no prize for second place because you're dead. Number 1, always win. Number 2, always cheat. All right, I learned these from Clint Smith, all right, of Thunder Ranch. It was before he had Thunder Ranch. He was a Marine sniper in Vietnam. Always win, always cheat. And Scott's rule, cheat early, immediately. All right? Win, 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 win. You can't lose. If you lose, you die. Your children suffer. Okay? Your wife dies or is tortured. You don't know what their intent is. Are they going to let you go? You don't know. So you go for all the marbles. All right? You go full blast, full bore. Win. End it. All right? When the police ask you what happened, say, I feared for my life. The guy says, I feared for my life. How come he ripped his eyeballs out? He was attacking me. I feared for my life. I thought he was going to kill me. Well, what else would you do? You think you enjoy doing those things? You think I like biting people? I don't like biting people. Ugh, it tastes nasty. It tastes of blood. Oh my gosh, it's disgusting. It's tough to draw down deep and keep from, and to even do that. It's difficult, but you've got to do that. Think about these things. I'll leave a link down at the bottom. It's not going to be on the screen. I don't know how to do that. I don't have editing software. But go down to the link down below near the comment section in the description of this video. I'll leave a link to a guy who does training. I think he's absolutely excellent. I agree with everything he says. He talks about attitude, skills, and a plan. It's called active self-protection. And he shows videos of life or death encounters that happen. Sometimes he comes out with 2 a day, and he talks about them and critiques them. You've got to think about these things and have a plan in your mind. And this really helps me stay current, helps me to play what if, what would you do? All right? That's what you have to do in your mind all the time. What would I do? What would I do in this situation? What would I do in that situation? So you already have a plan. You've already thought it through. You don't have to wait. All right? Guys, stay safe. I don't want you to get hurt. Be prepared. Be a Boy Scout. Take care. Thanks. Bye.